Welcome to the Health on Track podcast. Let's talk well-being.
Welcome to the Health on Track podcast, offering you a shot of wellness. I'm Yasmin, and I'm the Member Engagement and Communications Manager at GIG Gulf Insurance. Setting boundaries can be a challenge. Where do you draw the line between acceptable and unacceptable? Defining the amount of space to give someone is no easy task, and it's even more difficult when you try enforcing boundaries with people close to you, like family. But we'll tell you this, it's necessary. Don't worry, this episode will tell you everything you need to know and how to do it. Our speaker today is Nour Hafi, a clinical psychologist at American Center for Psychiatry and Neurology, Dubai, with over a decade of experience in psychotherapy, psychological assessment, and mental health training. Her therapeutic approach is tailored to each client's unique needs, integrating evidence-based treatments to help clients overcome trauma and psychological distress. She is also a passionate advocate for mental health awareness, having led multiple public awareness campaigns, corporate wellness programs, and training workshops to reduce stigma and promote psychological well-being. And that's why she's here with us. Thank you for joining us today, Nour.
Thank you so much, Yasmin, for hosting us today. And it's a pleasure to join you in the podcast and talk about boundaries.
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic, no?
Yeah, and it's actually has a lot of myth when we address it with clients. We see like, oh, they have a lot of myth about it. They think sometimes that it should not be there, or if they talk about it, it means that it has a lot of consequences. So it's good that we are addressing it today.
Okay, so what do we mean when we say boundaries?
Yeah, so boundaries actually, it is a psychological and emotional framework that we set in a way to help us understand how others want to treat us. It is as simple as what I accept and don't accept in a relationship, what I accept and don't accept in a relationship. It has a physical component, my personal space, this is a boundary. It has a emotional component. For example, I don't want to be dismissed in a conversation. And it also have a time component, time frame component. I don't want to be working after my working hours. So usually when we talk about boundaries, think about it as an internal compass that we have inside of us that can guide us on what we want to be in a relationship. And it doesn't really mean that we always need to say no. People think that when I say boundaries, it means no. No, it's not like this. It's actually to say yes to what you really feel comfortable with and you are interested in. And it doesn't mean that you need to make people to a certain point distanced from you, but you tell them what you want. For example, if I have someone talking to me about a problem and I want to set boundaries, I can simply say, I'm here to help you and support you, but I can't be your therapist. Maybe someone can help you through therapy.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's very interesting. So do you find in your practice that not having boundaries impacts our mental health?
Let's first understand that why it is important to have boundaries. It is important because it gives us safety in terms of mental health. Boundaries are just like nutrition and sleeping for our mental health. So it's very important to keep it. And it is important to keep it for caregivers, for people with a high demanding job, because it gives you a way of sense of security and safety in a relationship. Now, when we look at it with people who cross these boundaries, or when these boundaries are crossed, it is normal. Sometimes our boundaries are crossed. We can't really do something about it, but we try to make people understand that this is not acceptable for us, especially if it's infrequent, then we can tolerate it. But when you have a chronic boundary crossing, and when your boundaries are chronically violated, this can lead to depression and anxiety and burnout. And we start learning that there's a phenomenon called learned helplessness, by which you feel that it's okay, people do this to you and you're stuck, you don't have power to change, you don't have control over your life. And this is where we start see how it impacts you. It impacts you in terms of, for example, in workplace, a lot of people that they don't have boundaries, we see them, they internalize the concept of being productive with self-worth. So People cross my boundaries, ask me to stay more at work or ask me to do job for others. This means I'm productive, and this ends up with better image to myself at work, but I'm already burnt out. In a relationship, we can see it in terms of codependency, where one partner would have dictating the other partner's emotional state of mind just because they are actually, there's no boundaries and they are controlling this relationship. So ends up with a lot of resentment and anger. And we also see it physiologically as well, because the mind and the body are linked. They are not separated. So what happens when you are having no boundaries? When there's no boundaries, it means that there is a stress. And it's a chronic stress because it's not one episode. It's happened for a long period of time. So what happens with my body? My body will manifest signs of anxiety, or I will have stress symptoms like severe headaches that there's no biological reason for that. I'm having tension, pain in my muscles. I may have digestive issues. I may have insomnia. So they are all linked together.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Why do people struggle with setting or enforcing boundaries?
Because, okay, it has different components. First of all, why do people struggle? Because some people, they do not understand what is a boundary, the importance of setting a boundary, and how should I really set the boundary. So it has these different components. And also people struggle because we have a concept that it is not correct. From a culture,
It's rude.
it's rude. It means that you will be isolated, and it really crossed this point that if I set boundaries, it's like I'm building a fence and I'll be isolated. And in a lot of times, because we think that setting a boundary is something that's very rigid, we do not understand the differences between the relations that we have. So I can't set a boundary when I don't know how to do it. I don't have a skill because it needs practice.
Yeah.
I can't set a boundary when I have a lot of cognition distorted about setting a boundary. It's isolating me, I'll be alone. Or maybe if I set a boundary, it means I'm creating a problem. So this is where people avoiding conflict, they don't want to be there. So they don't set a boundary from the very beginning. Or sometimes it's linked to another cognition. If I self-sacrifice and I give the others everything I have, where I remove the boundary, it means I'm good, or I am loving, it shows I'm loving. So people tend not to send it from a cognitive point of view. And it's also something that we unfortunately got trained on from very young age. That's why if you look at it, from where it starts not setting the boundaries, from really very young age, where children have been raised in homes, they may be punished for asking about things in an assertive way, or they're maybe having a kind of love that is conditioned with being compliant. So they learn it with time that I should not set boundaries. That's how it's rude, it's wrong, it's not acceptable. And as an adult, they try avoiding problems by not setting boundaries because I want a calm, non-complex relationship, safe. So even if they have a safe relationship, they can't set boundaries.
Okay, that's very interesting. So should our boundaries be the same with everyone? So say my family, my friends, my spouse, my work colleagues, do we have the same boundaries with everyone?
That's a very important question because this is how one of our cognition tell us that it has to be rigid and it has to be the same. So if I have less boundaries with my family, it means that I should have less boundaries at work. But that's not true. Our boundaries should be different because it is, first of all, flexible and contextual. What does that mean? My relationship with my friend is totally different than my relationship with my partner, or is totally different than my relationship with my boss at work. They are different circles.
Yeah.
So my boundary with my friend, when I want to set it, I should look at first, how is this relationship going? Does it drain me or sustain me being in this relationship? And I adjust accordingly. What do I need to keep this relationship if it means to me? And how can I deal with it? So, no, it should not be the same. And keep in mind, even in the same family, even in the same workplace, we may have different boundaries. For example, parents may allow a toddler to intersect a communication or talk while they are talking, okay? Because they know that this is a toddler, this is a need. but they will teach an older child that they need to knock the door before coming into a room. This is setting boundary in different as well family dynamic with different family members.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so how can someone recognize that if I don't have boundaries and I need to start setting boundaries with people?
There are actually signs that we look into, and this is where self-reflection always help us understand ourselves, and with time understand how people interact with us as well. These signs would include, at the very beginning, we look at the emotional part of us. Am I someone who feels guilty when I say no? Am I someone who feels that after an interaction I'm very resentful, or it's too heavy on me, it's draining me? This is a sign that there is some boundaries that are not there or crossed. On a physical level, because as we said that your body and your mind are connected. Am I having a lot of we call it stress symptoms that is showing in my body? I'm having headache, I'm having pain that is not linked to a biological reason or to a specific disorder other than psychological one. It can be sign of boundaries that are crossed, because as we said, chronically crossing your boundaries would cause the stress because you're not happy, you're not okay. It has to be mutual relationship balanced. If it is not there, you'll not be okay.
Yeah.
So this would cause stress. And the third one is behavioral, and you see it a lot. Am I someone who apologize a lot? Am I someone who try to justify actions that I'm doing or justify why I don't want to be there? Am I someone who try to hold responsibility of people's feelings and emotions? And these are traps that we sometimes fall in without noticing.
Yeah.
And this what teach us that we need to reconsider what are the boundaries that we set in this relationship, and is it helping us to make this relationship grow, or actually it's draining us.
So how do we set the boundaries? I think that's like the most important question of the whole
Yeah.
point of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of my clients, when they come in, they first don't understand, but when they understand, it's like, oh my God, but I know that I have a lot of boundaries crossed with many people, so where do I start? And it is sometimes overwhelming. So the first thing that we need to say, it's normal to feel overwhelmed when you need to learn new skill, because it's like skill, right?
Yeah.
It's like going to the gym and training your muscle. The first couple of days, you feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? Is it gonna? Yeah, and I can't. And this is where we notice it's learned helplessness. I can't. So you just said it. Learned helplessness. I can't. So we use a strategy. I always help my clients, because it's very practical. I always help them to use it. It's called the brief strategy. B stands for be clear. So by being clear, if I want to leave at 6, I'll just tell you, hey, Yasmin, I'm leaving at 6 to be with my family. That's it. Being clear would set the first boundary and will let the person in front of me understand that I have a very direct goal that I need to follow. The second one, for brief, we have the R. R stands for repeat what your boundary when it is needed. It sometimes feel that, oh my God, I said it once. Do I need to repeat it? Yes, because unfortunately, when you are setting a boundary, it means that it's either it's a new interaction, so you need to make it clear, and sometimes you need to repeat it so people memorize what you really, what are your boundaries and what you really need in this relationship, or it is already stepped on. So you are
So you're
asking,
reinforcing it.
exactly, and it's not easy, and you expect people to resist.
Yeah.
So you need to repeat it. Most of the clients, when they come, they say, I tried to set the boundary, but it didn't work. I was like, were you angry? Because we need to set it and repeat it calmly. So that people know that it's not against them. It's something that you want, and this is what makes you comfortable in the relationship. So we need to repeat it calmly. And then we have the I that stands for I statements. So I don't want to go and blame you for something. I'll just put it, I need this. I need
about
that.
me.
It's about me. Exactly. And this is where, when you start to reinforce it and you repeat it for the people, it's not about you, it's about me. And the E stands for you need to expect pushbacks. I cannot change people like this. It will take time. People definitely would push back because that's human nature. And if they are used to this and it was aligning with what they need, and now you are asking them to change, then it's not easy. So you normalize pushing back.
Yeah.
But I also make sure that when they push back, I also need to have the skills how to contain myself be present and not react. And the last one is to repeat through. So I need to keep on doing it the same. And I need to make sure that I'm being all the time consistent in this relationship. Because this is also another issue that we have. One day I'll have this boundary with you, with this person, let's say with you, and the second day I don't have it. And you start being confused. Is it a boundary or it was related to a specific situation? You got me? So
Yeah.
this is where people feel like, okay, I'll take advantage. It's not a boundary. It was related to the situation. So I'll do the same thing. Until you show me your boundary again, it will not work out.
Okay.
Okay.
So you talked about pushback and resistance. How do we deal with that?
Oof. Okay. Can I share a story for one of my clients? Because this story has inspired me a lot. I was working with a client. She has a bit of, I would say, a struggling relationship with her mother. And we'll call her Layla. This is not her name, but we'll give her this name.
The mother or the patient?
The patient's name is Layla.
All right.
Okay. Layla is a very nice daughter, but she always have a complex relationship with her mother. Okay. Her mother, usually every day at 6, when she's coming back from work, she would call her. Most of the conversation will be about nagging on the problems that she's having with the father. So Layla's mother and father, they fight, and Layla hear it all. Layla has to be the one who's containing and supporting, but she's working for 9 hours, and it's very draining day for her. She really needs some space. So Layla was always coming to me and saying, I really would love to talk to my mother, but it's just in the wrong time. I don't have the capacity. So I don't feel connected, and that's adding the complexity to our relationship. It's always distant. So I was discussing with Layla, why Layla don't we set some boundaries? She's like, oh gosh, no way. If I say this to my mother, she will start accusing me with a lot of things. You don't love me, you don't care anymore, you think that you are now on your own.
You're ungrateful.
You're ungrateful, and a lot of things come out. And then I said, okay, Layla, let's try to, we understand that your mother is trying to push back, and that's normal. This is a relationship that has been for long years with this pattern. So let's try to set changes that will help you and help her. Because the reason of setting boundary is to make the relationship grow, not to end it, unless it is toxic where you cannot really handle it, or you need to just set a bit. We will speak later about it on how to set some limits in the interaction. So Layla started by showing some empathy to the mother, but at the same time, putting her boundary. So the mother, she called her the second day after our session. She is like, it was very brief. Hey, mom, I'm sorry. I can't really take the call now. I just need 30 minutes to unwind from all what happened today at work, and I'll call you back at 7. And what do you think the mom's reaction was?
I don't know.
She was very upset.
Yeah.
And she started going to the same pattern that Layla is used to, blaming her and trying to let her feel guilty. And this is a trap. You're not grateful. How come? I just needed to talk to you. I've been waiting all day, and it is urgent. It's now. And Layla was like,
I carried you for 9 months,
9
and you can't give me 30 minutes of your time.
Exactly. A lot of these kind of notes.
Yeah.
And then Layla, instead of falling into the same pattern where she feels guilty and take it over and feel detached and actually not being engaged, and the mothers would sense this, so she started asking for more. She said, I know, mom, I love you. I will speak to you, but after 30 minutes. So what did Layla really do? She set the boundary. She showed empathy. She set the boundary. She reinforced it again. And when the mom was getting aggressive, this is the trick, she limited the interaction. She said, I'll call you after. The second day, the same thing repeated, that Layla had to close the line. The second thing, the same thing repeated, but the mom already learned that Layla is setting boundary, so she started to push back at the very beginning. So Layla, simple response, this is how the training, and this is where sometimes therapy can give you the tools. Hey mom, I know you are upset. When you are calm, we will talk, and I'm available at 7. And that was, again, in a message, because sometimes interaction direct may be difficult, so she sent the message. After a week, the mom learned that Layla is here to hear, but it will be after 7. So she started calling her after 7. And Layla was coming and saying, hey, Nour, you know what? My mom, for the first time, for a really long time, asked me, how was your day? And that was a big shift.
Progress.
Yes, because it is now a mutual relationship. It's not one-sided where you have someone calling you to vent out and you just feel the obligation to listen. And this is what we mean by setting boundaries. So you need to empathize, but be fair. Then you need to redirect. I can't now, I would do it at this point, giving an alternative, trying to help. And the third one, if you really can't do it and they are still crossing, limit the interaction. Because sometimes we really need to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Limit the interaction until the other part or the other side of the discussion understand that, okay, I need this space, they need this space, calm down, and we address it again.
Wow, that is really an inspiring story. I see why you wanted to share Layla's story with us.
Yeah, because everyone can be Layla at a certain time, right?
Yeah.
Where we find it difficult and, as you said, rude or not acceptable to set boundary, especially with the people that they are used to always step on these boundaries. And we can't really like get out of this relationship. We would feel a bit stuck.
Yeah, yeah, true. Okay, I think you touched on this point in the beginning, but I want to like talk about it more. You said that there's a misconception that some people think that when you set boundaries, this is going to lead to isolation, or it's going to, break your social connections. You're going to lose your friends or lose your job or something. So, what's your advice to these people?
First of all, we need to know that this is a myth. And sometimes going into this process, because it comes from, it has a healing point, I need to know why I don't set boundaries. Is there any attachment issue that I have my own self that caused me now to react this way? Or is it a response to a previous trauma that I had? And this is what you usually tackle in therapy and try to address to heal the roots and try to go into more self-reflection and get more self-worth, So it's not from others, it's from inside of me. But when we have this kind of misconception, we always try to help ourselves by looking at the relationship at a distance. Take one step back and try to look at the filters, because we have sometimes mental filters that we put.
Yeah.
Look at these filters. What is this relationship giving me? Is it draining me? Is it putting me in an uncomfortable situation? Do I need to work on this relationship to grow, to have a mutual respect, to have an empathy together, to support each other? Or it's a one-sided relationship and I'm being there just, I don't know why. So when you go into this kind of exploration, you start realizing that I can go and I do deserve to be in a relationship that we have equal mutual respect. We are on equal terms. I can choose also my relationships. Yeah, it would look at the beginning that I'm lonely because I had to decline a friend's call, or I had to say no to a friend to take coffee, but she's a manipulative person. I'm stuck with a lot of manipulation. It may sound lonely at the beginning, but it's also, if you look at it, a way of reflecting on my relations to see how can I find something better. Sometimes we are stuck in our own circle, and we think that there's no other circles around because we are stuck here. But when you try to explore, there are other circles that you may find this healthy boundary. And in the relationship itself, you will never know if this relationship can change until you try. I know it can sound at the beginning a bit scary, but the more you act on this with the small steps, the better you reach. And I need here to share a quick advice. You don't need to start with the relationships that are very sensitive or very hard. So, for example, going back to Layla's case, she did not start practicing boundaries directly with her mom. It was a very difficult exercise for her. She started it with a friend, not even close, and it was a colleague more at work, and she started it small. She was practicing some techniques here and there. She was trying to see the relationship. But this practice, she was able later on to generalize it to bigger circle, until she touched person that really means to her. She doesn't want to leave the relationship, but at the same time, she wants to be happy.
Okay, that's great advice. Have you had situations where someone did actually lose a friend or a colleague or something after they set boundaries?
I did, my own self.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And how do you deal with that?
My own self, I do remember, and it was a tough time for me at the beginning because I was blaming myself honestly, and I was saying, "Oh my God, it was my responsibility, and I wanted to fix things, and I was looking into how can I make the relationship better." But I've realized that no, at the very beginning, this relationship was toxic. First, second, I know that it didn't help me grow. And it was painful. This is where I reached out at the beginning and I said, hey, I'm not feeling okay because I'm disconnecting from a relationship that meant something to me at a certain point in my life. And now it's different. And with time, when I now reflect on it, I say, oh my God, maybe this is the best thing I did in my life. I've stopped a relationship that was hurting me. Sometimes we tolerate pain that we should not tolerate. And sometimes we normalize things that we think it's okay, but it's not okay. Until we have that space out of this relationship, we cannot really understand how hard it's impacting us. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. You did. No,
Yeah.
a great answer. Okay. So how can we raise children to know how to set boundaries?
Believe me, this is a constant worry for our new generation because of everything that we have now, and especially with the digital media that we have, it's not easy
Yeah.
to teach them. But I would say the first thing starts by being a good role model for the children. So I cannot teach a child how to set boundaries if I don't do this my own self. So the first thing we need to teach our children through role modeling. The parents themselves, they should have healthy boundaries. And it's not wrong because kids, they see how parents interact, adult to adult, and they learn. And we set boundaries with our own children. What we accept, what we don't accept is very important. And how we communicate this. Remember when I told you about childhood experiences where I can be punished if I have an assertive need that I asked for? This is what we need to be aware of. Am I giving my children conditioned love based on their compliance? Am I trying to show my child that boundaries are ooh, not to touch? And we focus on tiny details because kids, they don't understand it through communication or lectures. No, not like this. So what would you do if there's someone from the relatives asking your son to come hug and kiss and your son doesn't feel comfortable? Do you force your son to go and do that? Or you teach them about body autonomy, that it's your body. And if you don't feel comfortable now, you can say, no, I'll come after, or no, I don't want it now. These are skills that the kids learn. Another thing, we teach kids that there is consequence when someone crosses the boundary. Do I always need to force my children to share their toys when they don't need with the friend? Or I may ask them, if you don't really need to share and this friend is bothering you, then we are leaving. So you teach consequence. So kids, they learn that if someone crossed my boundary, I can also have a consequence and it's safe. And you teach them as well emotional literacy. And this is very important to help them identify their own emotions, label it, communicate it, say, no, I need my personal space. And as parent, we respect it. Say, I don't want to be here now. And as a parent, we respect it. And we teach our kids how to ask for this request by verbalizing it. So with our adolescent now, because they are on social media, we need also to teach them about boundaries. We need to teach our children what to accept, what language they need to be spoken at, what messages they are okay with. And we can only do this by being close to our kids and setting ourselves also boundaries. Like, I need to be checking with you the messages, let's say once in a week. We set a time where we check messages together. So we normalize these kind of interaction without blaming the children. Oh, how come you said this? Or how come? We teach them, this is a boundary. Are you okay if your friend sends you this rude message? Or you are not okay? If you're not okay, what can you tell your friend? This is modeling. And modeling with a lot of empathy and support rather than punishment and blaming and taking the phone from the kids and you're not allowed to speak anymore, you know?
Yeah. Wow, this is very interesting. Everything you said has been very interesting and very helpful. So thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Thank you as well for hosting us. And thank you for actually initiating this topic. It's very important to talk about boundaries. And it's very important to know that it is one step at a time. We don't need to set all the boundaries at one time. It's one step at a time, and it needs practice, just like going to the gym to build muscles. And it will come with resistance, but it's okay. We learn how to deal with this resistance, and it's one boundary that we have is one step towards freedom.
Thank you. Nicely put.
Thank you.
Thank you. To everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. We hope you've learned a little bit about boundaries, and if you need to enforce them, go right ahead. Share this episode with your loved ones to help us spread awareness. We're available on YouTube video and music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anghami, and Amazon Music. Stay well and keep thriving.